All right, so here I am at one of my favorite waterfall playgrounds. I thought I'd take a moment in the parking lot to teach you guys how to run waterfalls. On waterfalls 20 feet and under, you can often get away with boofing them, but if you're planning on running anything larger than that, you definitely need to learn how to plug a waterfall and how to tuck. So anytime you're landing a big waterfall, it's important that you hinge forward and you get as far forward as you can. And the reason you want to get forward is because, one, you want to be as streamlined as possible when you enter the water vertically, and two, hinging forward protects your back. It keeps all of the shock, if you do happen to land flat, from going up your spine. So even if you make a mistake, a good tuck can protect your spine. In that last 10 feet of the waterfall, it's important that you quietly tuck forward. This is something you can practice on flat water, but it's something you need to go to a waterfall and practice a lot. Preferably a safer waterfall that's not too tall. The ideal waterfall practice range is typically about 20 to 25 feet if you're trying to practice tucking and if you're trying to get vertical. The truth is, it takes a waterfall about 30 feet to 35 feet even to really get the hang of angle corrections. Keep in mind, landing too flat or landing poorly or in poor body position on a waterfall, even as small as 15 or 20 feet, can easily hurt your back or cause other bodily injury. So you need to be careful. It's important that while you're in free fall, you spot your landing for as long as possible. You really need to lean forward, hinge forward, staring right where the waterfall enters the plunge pool below. For as long as possible, hold that stroke and guide your boat into that pocket. If you need to push to go a little bit more vertical or pull a little bit to flatten out a little bit or adjust a little bit, you can, but keep corrections to a minimum. Typically, you want to tuck in the last 10 to 20 feet of the waterfall. Really, it's just the last moment that you're able to tuck quietly and smoothly. By quietly and smoothly, I mean trying not to thrash around your body. It's not just an upper body movement to the front, because if you do that, if you do it in an unconnected way, then your boat may do other things while you tuck. So one of the things that you learn when learning how to tuck is how to do it quietly without changing a whole lot in your boat. The thing is, tucking too fast or tucking at the top of the waterfall can cause you to pitch just as if you lean back. At the same time, tucking too aggressively can lift your bow up and cause your bow to flatten out right before landing. So there's a lot of different ways to tuck and a lot of different styles of tuck that you can do, but the first decision you have to make is whether or not to hold on to the paddle. The decision to toss your paddle away or to keep your paddle needs to happen while you're scouting the waterfall. Tossing the paddle or letting go of the paddle can be really good for your shoulders because there's nothing to grab the water on impact. The paddle can catch the water if you don't get tucked all the way or if the water catches it, and pull back and dislocate your shoulder, come back and break across your chest or hit you in the face. Paddle to face injuries are very common when running waterfalls of average size. But when we're running big waterfalls, those injuries get worse and the impact gets more substantial. If you've chosen to let go of the paddle, you're going to want to wait until you know you're about to tuck. So you shouldn't be throwing your paddle away at the top of the waterfall. Once you get rid of the paddle, you can either toss it out in front of you, not directly in front of you, but out, or you can let the paddle go to the side. Whatever you choose to do and however you let go of the paddle, it needs to be quiet. You need to do it in a way that doesn't force a big crunch to lift your bow up, unless that's what you want. If you've chosen to let go of the paddle, you still need to turn your head to the side and tuck all the way against your boat. And the best way I've found to do that is to cross your hands over the cockpit rim and tuck your head into your elbow. Tucking your head into your elbow protects your face from face to boat impact, which is still a problem even without the paddle. But you can't always toss your paddle. And if you get in the habit of tossing your paddle away on all the drops, when you get to a bigger drop where you can't toss your paddle away and you need your paddle to paddle out of a cave or a pocket or something, then you might be uncomfortable or not know what to do. So you've probably heard of a few different types of tuck, like the Oregon tuck or the Washington tuck. Everybody has their own style of tuck though that they do, and most kayakers end up finding something that works better for them, or some variation of one of those other types. So in the Oregon tuck, it's basically the standard tuck. Your paddle is braced against your boat, you're pushing the paddle down against the boat, turned to the side, and your head is tucked all the way into your elbow. So when you tuck, it's important not to just hold your paddle to the side. A lot of people think holding your paddle to the side is a tuck. The problem is holding your paddle to the side like you're gonna roll opens your paddle up to being caught by the water and dislocating your shoulder. It's important that you brace the front blade on your kayak, and you can either brace it down front face down or power face down, whatever's more comfortable and more natural to you. Aside from pinning your paddle against the boat, it's important that you turn your head to the side to protect your face from possible impacts. Face to boat impact and face to paddle impact is a common way of injuring yourself on waterfalls. Also, turning your head allows you to tuck it into your elbow to better protect you as well. You don't want to leave your head up because not tucking all the way opens your body to taking the impact from the landing. I like to plant my paddle down onto my bow, turn my head, rest my elbow on my cockpit rim, and my head on my elbow. And then I press it all together as tight as possible for the landing. Being strong in your tuck when you land helps soften the landing so that you stay streamlined as you enter the water of the plunge pool. In the Washington tuck, it works the same way, but you take your back arm and you slide your hand down and pull the paddle blade underneath your arm as tight as possible against the boat. It's important, if you choose to do the Washington tuck, that you pull that paddle blade in and against the boat as tight as possible to prevent it from getting away from you. If the paddle gets away from you, it can still put your shoulder at risk, but when done well, it can provide a lot more protection for your shoulders than just the Oregon tuck. And you need to be versatile. You need to be able to place to tuck equally well on both sides. The reason that's important is because the side that you tuck on may change with the waterfall. Typically, I choose to tuck toward the softest water, the softest landing. If there's more aeration on my right side, I'm gonna tuck toward the right because I want my body to take that aeration rather than the greener water to the left. If it's a big wide curtain, it may not matter which side you tuck on, but you may have to adjust if you start to corkscrew. So then if you start to twist a little bit to the right, you may need to also counter it a little bit to the left, but be careful not to take a stroke. Adding a positive stroke during your waterfall run can cause you to boof out really late and injure your back. In this case, I accidentally pulled a stroke while starting my tuck. Fortunately, the rest of my tuck protected my spine and my face on impact. Which tuck you use is personal preference and sometimes situational. If your shoulder is already injured, you're probably going to go for the Washington tuck or the paddle toss. But you can't always toss your paddle. And if you get in the habit of tossing your paddle away on all the drops, when you get to a bigger drop where you can't toss your paddle away and you need your paddle to paddle out of a cave or a pocket or something, then you might be uncomfortable or not know what to do. The big goal is to practice these moves and to practice the tucks so that when it comes to running a waterfall, your focus is on the corrections on flying your kayak on the way down and not on whether or not you're able to tuck. You want it to be natural so you can keep your mind clear and focused on the part that matters. If you've done it well, when you land, you'll continue free falling even underwater as you gradually slow down. It can actually feel quite soft even on bigger waterfalls. Some waterfalls I've ran, I've remembered feeling the pitter patter of what felt like raindrops over my head while I was underwater. It was just the waterfall landing behind me. As you surface, it's important to continue feeling what's going on. Are you resurfacing possibly behind the waterfall? Are you resurfacing in a good spot? Does it feel like you're evenly rising with the water? Are you going to have to roll? Pay attention to what's going on so that you know how to react. One thing that you may have to deal with from running big waterfalls is a skirt implosion. If your skirt implodes on impact, you may still be in your kayak, but when you pop up, it'll be full of water. There's also a chance you'll get pulled out of your kayak while you're landing. So it's important to be ready and prepared mentally and with safety for if a skirt implosion should happen. It's best to have at least one friend, but probably more, at the bottom of the waterfall, and at least one person in their boat. You need to practice these techniques on smaller, more reasonable waterfalls before you step up to larger ones. And you need to get it dialed. Practice your tuck on 20-footers frequently before you step up a notch. Practice your corrections and practice your angles on 30-foot waterfalls even. Make sure that you have it dialed before you step up to a 40-foot waterfall. Run a few 40-footers before you think about running a 45-footer or a 50-footer. Don't think that you can just go run a big waterfall, even if it's considered a safe waterfall or a waterfall that's run frequently. Make sure that you watch all 3 videos of the 3-part series and don't just depend on this one to know how to run waterfalls. This video was specifically aimed at explaining how to land a waterfall, but the other videos involve the techniques required to dial in that waterfall. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. I've got more videos on the way. Pass it around, share it. I'm so stoked to share this information with you guys. I'll do more on the waterfalls later. I'll see you on the river.